All right, everyone. This is week 6 of our Go Healthy program. If you have not already, please make sure you get your tracker in. Today, we're going to discuss the success of last week's assignment. We'll talk about reading food labels. That is our topic for today. We'll talk about the purpose of the food label and requirements. We'll also talk about the single versus the dual column label. And then I'll discuss the week's assignment. We'll introduce next week's topic, and then we'll talk about the Go Healthy Tracker. All right, so just to recap, last week we talked about consuming more low-calorie dense food and beverages and limiting high-calorie dense food and beverages. So if you remember last week, I showed a picture of an apple versus a donut, and the apple definitely has less calories than the donut. So we talked about that. We also talked about beverages. So water being low calorie dense versus soft drinks being high calorie dense. So the goal was to consume more of the low calorie dense foods and limit the high calorie dense food and beverages. All right, so reading food labels. Reading food labels are so important. Reading food labels helps us to make quick, informed decisions to help choose healthy food and beverages. They provide facts for nutrients that impact common health concerns such as weight control, diabetes, and hypertension. It is required on all packaged food and beverages. It is not required for raw produce like fruits and vegetables and fresh fish. So let's talk about the food label. So there are 4 parts of the food label that we're going to focus on today. And they include serving information. That is the first section. Then we have calories for the second section, nutrients for the third section, and then the fourth section is going to be percent daily value. So let's look at the first section, which is serving information. So in your serving information section, you are going to have the servings as well as the serving size. So whenever you're looking at the nutritional fact label, you want to first take a look at the serving information. You want to look at the number of servings in the package and then the serving size. Serving sizes are standardized to make it easier to compare similar foods. They are provided in familiar units that people will recognize, such as cups or pieces. It's usually followed by a metric amount. So most of the time you'll see grams next to that serving size. As you can see here, the serving size is 2/3 of a cup, and then the grams is 55 grams. Now, I do want to make note, the serving size reflects the amount that people typically eat or drink of that item. It is not necessarily the recommendation of how much you should eat or drink. It's just the amount that people typically eat or drink. It is important to realize that all of the nutrient amounts shown on the label, including the number of calories, refer to the size of the servings. So you want to really make sure you're paying attention to that serving size. Are you having less or more of that? And that will affect the nutrients as well as the calories. So here, let's say if we're looking at this food label that's on the screen now, it is 2 thirds cup, but if you had double that, then you would double everything else. So if you have 230 calories per 2/3 cup and you doubled that, then you have to double the calories. So it's very important to first look at the serving information before you even move down to the calories, the nutrients, and the percent daily value. So that's the first thing that you are going to look at whenever you're looking at the food label. Next, you're going to look at calories. Calories provide a measure of how much energy you are getting from a serving of the food or beverage. So again, remember the number of servings you consume determines the number of calories you actually have. Okay, let's move down to the nutrients. So same as the calories, depending on how much of the servings you have, you will either double that if you're having more, if you're having double the amount, or if you're having less than the serving size, then you could take away from that. But it's always important to look at these sections and base them on how much you're actually having. Now, the nutrients that you want to get more of when it comes to, reading the food labels, you want to focus on dietary fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. Now, you'll see on some food labels, they'll also include other vitamins and minerals. So the more you have of the vitamins and the minerals, those are the nutrients you want to get more of. Now, the nutrients you want to get less of include saturated fat, sodium, and added sugar. So how can you tell if you're getting less or more? If you look at the section to the right, so there is a purple box around the percent daily value, which we're about to talk about. That will guide you on if you're getting more or less of that. So 5% or less is low. 20% or more is considered high for that percent daily value. So let's take a look at saturated fat on here. So of course that's a nutrient that you want to get less of. So here there is 1 gram of saturated fat per serving, and that's 5% of your percent daily value. So that is considered low. So this is a food item that has a low amount of saturated fat. Let's move down to sodium. For this particular item, there's 160 milligrams of sodium. So the percent daily value is 7%. It's higher than that 5, but it's still close to the 5 to show that it is on the lower end. Now, if we look at sugars, let's look at added sugars specifically. So added sugars, there's 10 grams in this item. So that's 20% daily value. So 20% or more is considered high. So this item has a high amount of added sugar. So that percent daily value is just a quick guide to help you decide, if this is an item that has a lot of those 3 things that we want you to get less of, those 3 nutrients, which include saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars. So that percent daily value is just a quick way to look and see, hey, this is high or this is low, and that can help you make an informed decision if you want to purchase that item. Now let's look at the nutrients you want to get more of. So for this one, let's look at iron. So iron, it's 8 milligrams, so 45%, and that's much higher than the 20%. So you can see that this food item has a lot of iron in it. So that's good. If you look at calcium, the calcium is 20%. So that's high as well. So Again, the percent daily value is just a quick number that you can look at to see how much nutrients is in that food item. And again, helps you to make an informed decision. Okay, so that was the single column label. Let's look at the dual column label. So this is for products larger than a single serving but be consumed in one sitting. So we have here ice cream. So for serving per serving, it's 170 calories, but if you eat the whole container, it's 510. If we look at saturated fat, there's 6 grams per serving, which is 30% daily value. That tells us there's a high amount of saturated fat. And there is 17 grams in the whole container. That's at 85% daily value. So that lets you know it's even higher. So those are things you want to definitely look out for. If we go down to added sugars, 14 grams per serving, which is 29% of the daily value, 43 grams, which is 86%. Now, if we look at the sodium is not as high. The sodium is 50 milligrams, which is 2%. If you remember, 5% is low, so it's much lower than that 5%. Even if you eat the whole container, there's not a lot of sodium, but you still want to pay attention to the saturated fat content as well as the added sugars. So again, the nutrients you want to get less of is the added sugars, the sodium, and the saturated fats. So this week's assignment is to make sure you read food labels while you are out to make quick and informed choices. So if you're going to the grocery store this week and you're picking up food and beverages, make sure you stop and read those food labels. Pay attention to the serving size, the calories, the nutrients, and the percent daily value. Those are the 4 sections that are very important for you to look at. Now, I will say a lot of chain restaurants have nutrient labels as well, but theirs is usually like online. If you look online and you go to their website, it'll show you how many calories the food items have, um, sodium, saturated fat, sugar, carbs, protein, all of that will be on there. So it won't look like the food label I've shown you, but the content will be on there. So the next time you go somewhere, just make sure you read that food label. Of course, continue to meet all minimum fundamentals every day. And then next week, we're going to talk about strategies to manage calories on the weekends, staying on track. I know sometimes that could be a barrier. During the week, you have your routine and everything is, done the same. But then the weekend, sometimes it's easy to get off track. We'll also be talking about dining out, staying on track while dining out. So those will be our topics for next week. Again, if you have not turned your tracker in, please make sure you get that tracker in. And we will be having a tracker that's due next week. If you have any questions about anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to me via email, or you can call me at 901-227-2371. But that's all that I have for today. Thank you, everyone, and look forward to everyone joining next week. Thank you.
Thank you.